All right, welcome back to a new year. I wanted to do a quick run through for each of my AP and IB classes, how the grading is going to work. And it can be a little confusing, so hopefully this video will take care of that and help both you and your parents understand what's going on and how to achieve the scores that you are likely looking for. So we use in my class a standards-based grading model. And essentially what that means is you've got a number of standards, content standards that you're required to know, and you learn them, and then I assess you on them. And based on those standards alone, that's going to translate to your grade in class, at least for our assessments. The rationale of a standards-based grading model is that the most important thing that we do in this class is learn some material and the skills in order to succeed on both the AP and the IB exams at the end of the year. And this allows us to work through the year towards mastery with an understanding that we aren't always ready for that on a particular day that I happen to give a test. So my expectation for you is that you're going to work hard throughout the year and you're going to study and you're going to be ready for the assessments when I give them to the best of your ability. But if you're not quite there yet, it's okay. And you have an opportunity to reassess, to ultimately demonstrate to me that you know what you need to know and you can do what you need to do to get the score that you're looking for. So the way this is going to work, each unit of the course is going to be broken down into a number of content standards. And these are directly connected to both the AP curriculum for that class and the IB curriculum for my seniors. And within those standards, you're going to be given at the beginning of every unit a list of key understandings and terminology and concepts that you're going to have to be familiar with. And then at the end of a unit, we'll take an assessment. Now, those tests will be directly connected to those standards. So there's never going to be a question that will surprise you or that you didn't expect. Everything that you will see on the test is going to be directly pulled from those content standards that you needed to know. And you're going to do your best to answer all the questions. They're typically going to be short answers or maybe identification type questions. You're going to do your best to answer those questions. And then from there, I'm going to give you a score. Now, each particular standard will probably have 2 or 3 questions that go along with it. And so we'll see an example like this at the end of a test where you might have 6 points available on a particular standard. And if your score was a 5 or a 6, we're going to call that a 2. If it was between a 2 and a 4, we'll call that a 1. And if you really didn't know what was going on and it's a 0 to a 1, we'll call that a 0. Those are the marks that we're using as our standards. And we're keeping it as simple as we can, a 2, a 1, or a 0. 2 means you know what you need to know to get the score and to move on. A 1 means you know something, but you're not quite where you want to be yet. There's room to grow. And then the 0 is we've definitely got to get back to basics and make sure you are aware of what you need to know, and then you need to demonstrate it to me. So a 2, a 1, and a 0 are the only scores you're going to get for each of those standards. Now from there, we've got to translate it to actual course grades with our district's grading scale. So what I will do is crunch the numbers of all of your standards. Let's say at the end of a quarter, we had 9 different standards. So I'm going to add those up and divide by 9 and get your average standard score. And if that lands you between a 1.8 and a 2, we're going to call that an A, and you're going to see a grade in your grade book of 100 for your overall testing grades. If it's between a 1.6 and a 1.79, we'll call that a B. And notice I'm calling a B, there it is over here, I'm calling a B an 89%. That means if you get a B on testing, but you do the homework that you've been assigned and you've taken care of in-class work, that grade will be bumped up to at least an A minus, maybe an A. 1.4 to 1.59, you're going to be a C plus at 79%, and so on down the line. The lowest score that you could get with this is going to be a 50 overall. Now note, if you have any marks of a 0 on any of your assessments or throughout the whole semester or quarter, if you have 9 2s and 1 0, I'm going to call that grade a 50 until you fix your 0. There's a reason for that. With the nature of the AP and the IB exams, you might have one particular concept or standard that ends up being your long essay question on an AP World exam, or ends up being the essay that you've got to write for paper 3 on your IB exam. And if I were to let you slide with having very little understanding of that particular standard, that could really derail your exams at the end of the year. So zeros are poison. We don't want them. We're going to get rid of them if you ever have one. And so what do you do after you've taken a test and maybe you don't have the score you're looking for? You can reassess. These are going to require you to go back to the drawing board, to look again at your standards, to study what you need to know. For the low standards, the ones you missed out on, you don't have to worry about the ones you did fine on. And then you're going to need to meet with me. And this can be done typically during lunch or before school or after school. Sometimes at the end of our classes, if we do have some extra time at the end of a class, we're going to meet and you've prepared. And I'm going to then ask you some questions to have you show me that you do now know what you need to know to move on. And if you demonstrate the knowledge that you need to have, I change your grade. I change your 0 to a 1 or your 0 all the way to a 2. I don't lower standards. So if you were a 1 and you're still struggling, you'll stay a 1. But I can absolutely raise standards. It doesn't have anything to do. There's no averaging of grades or anything like that. You just get the new standard score and then I'll recalculate your final grade. So like I said, reassessments can be held at any time you and I can meet. And they must be done by the last day of the card marking. Now, be very careful with that. I do have a number of students that'll hold these things off until the last minute. And if we run out of time on that last day of the card marking and you haven't gotten a chance to meet with me, it just is what it is, and you're stuck with what you got. So I always recommend students reassess as soon as you possibly can, even if it's a day or two after you get your test back. So that's that, and hopefully it leads us to a lot of success this year and a lot of learning. Any questions, of course, direct them at me, but we'll have a great year, and let's learn a lot of AP and IB world history. Take care.